Now, really quick, I just want to thank Stasa23 for sending us this knife. He sent us this knife and a few other knives, and he's been awesome to our channel. We've been following him since way before we ever started a channel. He was definitely a big influence on us even starting a channel, and it feels amazing to be friends with somebody you've watched for so long and looked up to. And even before we even hit 1,000 subs, he sent us a box of knives, which was absolutely amazing. And it was to keep. So we can't thank him enough. He's been so awesome. We love the guy. Thank you, Stasa. Let's get to this video. Bang! Neves Knives. I'm Jared. My lovely wife, Kara, should be home anytime. And this is the QSP Pelican. So I haven't had a lot of QSP knives on the channel. I have had the QSP Penguin, but this is I think the second QSP knife I've checked out, I believe. Anyways, so this is a large EDC knife. The blade length is 3.6 inches. Overall length is 8 1/4. Great size comparison to the Spyderco Para 2, PM2. I think the PM2 is slightly, just a tad bit shorter, not by much though. So it is a good full-size knife, and it has an actual Wharncliffe blade, I guess you could call it, because this is a straight edge under here. The blade steel is S35V, and you can get these for about $110, $120, right around there. I think they're like $110, $117 or something like that. The micarta on it is beautiful. Love the micarta. QSP just does amazing micarta. Or wherever they get their micarta, it's really, really good. And actually, I will show it next to the QSP Penguin, and you can see how much bigger it is than the Penguin. Also a great buy. These are only like $25 for the D2 version, and then $50 something for the S35VN version. So this is a liner lock, and let's just get right into the action, because the action on this is really, really good. Now, it does have jimping on the flipper tab, which works really good. You kind of just hook it. I mean, you can push button it, but I find it likes it a little bit better to just be hooked and pulled down. Works really good. The access to the lock bar is really nice, and when you unlock it, the detent is pretty early, so it's very easy to get past it. So fidgeting with it, it's really nice. And then the drop is pretty doggone smooth. I actually just adjusted it, so it is there we go. Yeah, it's really false shutty. It's not quite guillotine, but it's very close to it. Very, very close. Now the detent it's not a strong detent, but it's also not a light detent. It's, I was just trying to break the detent to see the strength, but it's not, what you do is once you break it, you kind of feel the weight of the blade just taking over as it opens. So you know, you don't have to put too much effort into flicking it, and the weight kind of just takes over, because it is a heavy blade. The blade stock thickness is relatively thick. Behind the edge thickness is 20 thousandths off a factory edge. And let's talk about cutting with it, because the ergos on this thing is amazing. And the blade doesn't have the best slicing blade, but because the ergos are so good, it kind of makes up for it, because man, these ergos are amazing. But the utility cuts, I mean, this is going to be a utility cutting beast. You can just see it, even though it has a relatively strong, thick tip. You can kind of get that pinch right there and use your finger over the top, which kind of anchors that tip into place, and all the material gets, you know, kind of just pulled right into it. But even just holding the handle and putting the pressure from your hand on the spine of the handle, you really get a lot of leverage down in that cut. And with a Wharncliffe like this, that's where the beauty is going to be. That's kind of what they're for. The utility cuts are just amazing. You can get so much leverage into that tip. You know, a lot of knives, most of your leverage is going to go into right here, you know, closest to the hand. But with a worn cliff and some sheep's foots and some other blades, some certain drop points, you get a lot of pressure into that tip. So very, very nice utility cutting. And it just works really good. And being a full-size knife, you have, you know, a lot of room in the handle. The handle feels very comfortable. And with this micarta, man, it just feels very, very comfortable doing utility cuts, pulling utility cuts, and just making utility cuts. Now, slicing, not so good. It's not the best slicer. It's kind of one of those knives where it's going to be a primarily utility cutter, but you can get by with slicing. You can absolutely cut down your cardboard and break stuff down if you want to. It's just not going to have the best geometry for it. Now, if they made it a full flat, then it would be a lot better. But, you know, you have only from here to drop down. It drops down to 20,000. So, you know, and then you got to get over this thick part of the stock. So, you know, it's just... because of the ergos, it does make up for it, though. You do get relatively decent cutting out of it because of the ergos. And I wouldn't say the blade's doing the work. I would say the pressure that you have into the handle and the strength. Now, since this is pretty thick, if you're cutting down cardboard, you're going to have to hang on to that cardboard with your other hand and, you know, bear down some pressure. The jimping... it's there, but it's not very effective. Not for my hands, at least. Maybe some other people's hands. For me, it's just kind of slippery. Also, this stone washing is done really well. I love this type of stone washing. One, it hides scratches really good. It's nice and smooth to the texture. It's semi-reflective. As you can see, my tripod, my camera. But her phone. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful stone washing. The clip, man, the clip works good for a titanium milled clip. No complaints on how it goes in and out of the pocket. It sits really good. I love that they used 2 screws since they didn't inset the clip. You know, I like that they used 2 screws, so it's not going to have any play side to side. Sits really good, good amount of tension. Plenty of room, at least, you know, for my jeans, it was plenty of room. I know it doesn't look like it has a lot of room in there, but, you know, it's plenty. It works good. In the hand, the clip feels great because you have this little scoop down right here where, you know, it's flat here, but then it scoops down there. So in my hand, it's just super comfortable. No complaints on the way the clip. I really don't even feel it. I mean, I know it's there, like when I mess around, but, you know, especially in a reverse grip, but really, you know, it's very comfortable. So, and I also like the way it looks. You know, I love the way a good titanium milled clip looks. It always looks so much better than just a cheap spring clip. You know, sometimes spring clips work better, but the titanium clips look better. But this, you know, you're not really trading off. It works good and it looks good. Now, let's talk about some bad. I know we talked about a little bit of cutting that could be negative, but there are a couple bad things here. Not very much, but we got a bad choil. I'm not happy with the choil. I did not sharpen it, but I already know, you know, that one, it kind of pokes out just a little bit right there. So I already know that that's going to be a little bit of an issue. And then they didn't give you much room. The plunge grind is right there at the edge. So, you know, when you sharpen it, you're going to get, what, a 1 sharpening, 2 sharpenings out of it before, you know, you're really hitting the plunge grind. I don't even think you can get 2 out of it. The one good thing, though, is that the stop pin's not right there. It's up there. So you don't have to worry about it hitting anything, and you can put in a better sharpening choil if you wanted to without a problem. So that's at least a good benefit. Couple more things and then we'll talk about, you know, the rest of the good. T6s, you guys already know I don't like T6s. I'd way rather see T8s. They do have a T8 pivot, but the rest is T6s. I'd like to see T8s. Another thing, it's not centered, and I did try to center it. I could not get it centered. I tried to adjust the pivot. Now, I did not take it apart, so just know that I probably could have taken it apart and maybe slowly put in all the screws together so that this side goes down flat. Maybe that would have worked, but I did attempt to loosen up the pivot and put the card in there, or, you know, a piece of paper in there, you know, putting tension basically in the other direction as I tighten it all the way down and then loosen it up. Didn't work. I also can reverse flick it. I forgot to say that. Bang. But yeah, you know, it's not going centered. It's not scraping, and the action's good, so it's not that big of a deal, but it is a thing. Now, another thing, you know, I always mention this, and this one actually makes sense why I don't like it. So you have a bead blasted clip, and then you got a stonewashed blade. And then you got shiny liners. I don't like the shiny liners. Think about if these liners were the same color as the clip, just a bead blasted or stonewashed, just where it brought down that reflection, you know, it would look more expensive. It would look more put together. You know, I don't know. But whatever. Their logo right here, I don't really like it. It's okay. I mean, it's not that I wouldn't buy it because of it, but it kind of reminds me of like some Illuminati stuff or something. I don't know. Not that big of a deal. I would like to see this thing, man. This thing would make a great thumb stud action. Like, look at that. Even without, I can thumb flick it without even having thumb studs. So this thing would be a great thumb stud action. Or if they put a hole right here, if this had a hole, take out the flipper tab, put a hole. So basically take the flipper tab out, put a full choil in there, make it a good choil, and then put a hole in there. Bang, this thing would be amazing. I would love it. I know I'm not doing that well, but it is kind of slick. So, but with a hole, it would be great. But all in all, I like the knife a lot. I don't like the placement of the lanyard hole. It just seems like that's right where my fingers would land and it would be in my palm. But regardless, I don't have to put a lanyard in there. So not that big of a deal. But all in all, I think this thing is a good quality knife. I think if you bought this, you got a good quality knife. Is it worth the 110, 120? I don't think so. I honestly don't. And I'm only saying that because what are you getting more than the QSP Penguin? It's bigger, so that's one thing. But getting my CARHARTT and S35 VN, this was around, what was it, 50 something dollars? What is the titanium clip that much? I mean, I just don't see that. So I think this is a great knife around $80. I think that that's a great price for it. And even 90 would be a great price because the micarta is beautiful. And I know I'm talking in a way that is very spoiled because they did spoil us with their great micarta. So, you know, obviously, if they wouldn't have came out with something so beautiful like this, then I wouldn't be saying that. I'd be saying that this was a good price. I don't know. I just maybe for this price they could do, like, if they did the couple things I said, you know, like the bead blasted stonewashed liners, you know, maybe a thinner grind a little bit. I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. Regardless, it's a good knife, great utility cutter, great ergos. The ergos are amazing. The micarta is amazing. The clip works good. So not too many complaints. All the complaints I'm talking about are, you know, whatever. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.